Sisters and brothers, I'd like to say a few words on developments in our beloved country, Uganda. First of all power to Robert Kyagulanyi, aka Bobby Wine, who we know defeated Museveni decisively. 10 or 15 people are showing up at Museveni's rallies. So where did they come from to to vote for him? You know, Uganda is 73% of the population is under the age of 30. So simply what they did is they took Bobby Wine's votes and said Museveni 173 and Bobby Wine 124. It's almost comical if it was not so tragic. So my advice to Comrade Bobby Wine and to Ugandans, stop referring to Bobby Wine as the leader of the opposition. If you win an election, you are president of the country, whether you are sworn in or not. Museveni is the leader of the opposition. He's a military dictator, and so is his son, the imbecile Muhoozi. I'm happy to see that a US Senator, Jim Risch, a Republican of Idaho, is now saying the Trump administration should review and to see whether this is the time to impose sanctions on Muhoozi Kainerugaba. Of course, Muhoozi takes orders from the senior dictator. Muhoozi is only the deputy military dictator. He takes orders from the senior dictator, Museveni. If Muhoozi is to be sanctioned, Museveni should be sanctioned by the United States as well. And you know, when people say, oh, you're talking about United States, Uganda, oh, Western puppets, Western puppet is Museveni and Muhoozi. Why? Because they've mortgaged our economy to the West. So without money from the West, their governments cannot survive. So that's why we talk to the West. Why would you talk to Museveni, who is a servant of the West? Do you talk to the child or do you talk to the parents? You talk to the parents, the ones who give pocket money to the kids. In this case, the countries that cut the check to Museveni and Muhoozi are the ones that we need to address. You know, forget about Museveni and Muhoozi. Museveni, when he came to power, he complained that African leaders stay on for a very long time and they cannot even produce a needle. Which needle is Museveni and Muhoozi producing in Uganda right now? They're just busy threatening people, killing people, torturing people. And I like the fact that Senator Jim Risch, a Republican, by the way, to be honest with you, I don't remember even seeing a strong statement of this nature from a Democrat, a Democratic senator, to be honest with you. Go and do the research. I don't recall a Democrat ever saying that Muhoozi should be considered for sanctions. So I like the language you use, and let me see some parts of the statement. Well, it says Uganda's elections, like the recent one in Tanzania, were a hollow exercise staged to legitimize President Yoweri Museveni's term and 4 decades, 7th term and 4 decades in power. Correction to the honorable senator. It was not an election. When you turn off the internet, you cannot say in an election. It's like me and you running for a position. We're in a room, all the delegates, voters are there. I appoint the person who is supposed to count the vote. We turn off the lights. While the lights are still turned off in this room, somebody starts shouting, oh, Milton won, Milton won. What kind of nonsense is that? It's comparable to that, you see? And this takes me to what the BBC was saying. The BBC had an article saying, Bobby Wine, first it said, without the internet, you cannot verify information. That's what the BBC said in an article. And then it said, Bobby Wine said the election was stolen, but could not provide evidence. How is it going to provide evidence? Number one, when the internet is shut off. Number two, when Museveni himself could not provide the evidence that he won. BBC, did you see any of the ballots? Did you? So why are you so fast to conclude that Museveni, who's a notorious liar, and you know he's a dictator, so why are you taking his word over the words of Bobby Wine? You see? So let the BBC know how you feel about this too, sisters and brothers. If you go to my Twitter page, you will see that I let the BBC know almost on a daily basis. But let me read you one other part that I liked about what the senator said here, describing Museveni's military dictatorship. Uganda is linked to destabilizing regional activities, including in South Sudan. And we've always known this, we've always talked about this. In fact, had Uganda not invaded Rwanda in 1990, the 1994 genocide never would have happened. Uganda has invaded Congo multiple times, causing the deaths of 6 million Congolese, just so that Muhoozi and Museveni can plunder that country. So the senator has very strong language here. And obviously I say this because we need to build on this. This needs to be pushed to become the policy of the Trump administration. So he says Museveni is an exporter of violence. And then he talks specifically about some of the tactics of the military dictatorship in Uganda. He does not refer to it as a military dictatorship. Those are my words, but we know that is what it is. It is General Museveni and it's General Muhoozi. Generals are military, therefore military dictatorship. And then it says, to the United States, yet it's referring to the Ugandan ruling regime. The ruling regime prioritizes domestic control through political violence, abductions, imprisonment, intimidation of opponents, and the misuse of state resources to maintain its grip on power. This is not a legitimate government. This is a government that we should work vigorously to remove, particularly a government that we know stole an election from the legitimate winner of this election, which of course is Robert Kyagulanyi, aka Bobby Wine. So this is a good beginning, a very strong statement from the chair of the Foreign Relations Committee of the United States Senate. And as I said, of course, they're much more important than Museveni and Muhoozi, because these are people that cut the checks to Uganda. The British cut the checks to Uganda. EU cuts the checks to Uganda. These are the people we need to be engaging against. We need to be telling them that you cannot talk about democracy, human rights, rule of law in your own countries and export terrorism to our countries by subsidizing and financing Muhoozi and General Museveni. So this is a good start. Let's keep it up. And as I said last time, if Muhoozi and Museveni, should they kill Bobby Wine, who is the legitimate president of Uganda? Sisters and brothers, I do not need to tell you what to do, but I'm sure all of you would do the right thing as well. Democracy and peace will prevail in Uganda and in Africa, and the youth will determine the destiny of Uganda and the destiny of Africa.